So now we are really in for a real treat. This is the keynote address. And the keynote address will be given by a gentleman I'm proud to call my friend, Domingo Morales, the founder of Compost Power. But first, I would like to introduce Greg Russ, the chair of the New York City Housing Authority, who will introduce our keynote speaker, Domingo. So Chair Russ, over to you.
Thank you, Raz. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. I have to say, it's really exciting to see all of you on this convening today. It's a great energy, even through the virtual screen. So I want to take a minute, though, to celebrate what's happening today and thank everyone for the time that they're committing to this. And I particularly wanted to call out that even though NYCHA is this enormous institution, NYCHA has a long road to go with so many things that we have to do. We can't do it without partners. We have amazing partners like Lizbeth at Green City Forests and Renita here at the MAP helping to make a difference. But we're also fortunate because we have residents and our young residents, especially as we see and look at our keynote speaker, Domingo Morales. Domingo, I just want to thank you for all the work that you have been doing. And I want to say this is a gentleman that has lived in NYCHA developments in all 5 boroughs. He learned about Green City Forest from a flyer at his mom's building in Wilson Houses. And he learned about composting from Green City Forest. And it's interesting to me that we have this capacity because it reflects both his energy and effort and the chance to make a connection, because now he's inspiring his neighbors to spread the gospel of sustainability. And I can't think of a better generation to do that and a better set of individuals than one of our own from the community. And he's transforming trash and waste into something rich and fertile, and that revitalizes our soil and our souls. I think it's a kind of equity and sustainability that doesn't come through many other things. He's an inspiring young gentleman. I know that he's been awarded the David Prize, a $200,000 grant to continue and broaden his efforts. So I feel a very warm feeling introducing this young man because I believe he is doing the things exemplifying both the energy and effort we were going to need to pull into the future. It's a new era, both in Washington, D.C. and here in New York, and I look forward to his keynote. And please, Domingo, thank you for your work, and over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Russ. And thank you, Rasmia, for inviting me to come and speak today. It's an amazing opportunity. Hello to all those NYCHA residents out there and all of our great partners. First, I want to start by saying, I grew up in New York City, as they said earlier. I grew up in all 5 boroughs, raised in New York City Housing Authority most of my life. And up until I was about 22,
hasta cuando tenía 22 años. No se le escucha ahora.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Hold on. We're having tech issues. Domingo, just give us a second because we can hear the live translation, but we can't hear you. Hold on one second. And the tech team, if you could let us know when Domingo is ready to go, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. We on? Sorry about that, team.
You got it.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, Rasmia, for reaching out to me. I just want to start out by saying, this is a crazy time in America. We're facing a lot of loss, a lot of death, sickness. A lot of people are out of jobs. And I just want to say that my love goes out to all New Yorkers, and we will make it through this. So before I start talking about Compost Power, I just want to give you all a little bit of background on me. Raised in New York City, I lived in New York City Housing Authority most of my life, all 5 boroughs. And up until I was about 22, I was stuck working a lot of dead-end jobs. And it was simply because as soon as I was done with school, I had 2 kids and I really didn't have time for college, which is the same for most of the people that grow up in New York City Housing Authority. We have to jump straight into the workforce. So from 17 to 22, I was working dead-end jobs all over the city, really getting no future, earning minimum wage, and I got sick of it. And then one day I was walking home and I saw a flyer of Green City Forest on my building, and I decided, hey, let me try this program. There was a picture of NYCHA residents working together to build a farm. So I was excited about that and I applied for it. And, in 2015, I could care less about environmental sustainability because I really didn't know about it. It wasn't part of my education. Growing up in NYCHA, we didn't have the opportunity to recycle things. We didn't have the opportunity to control any of the systems that we were living in. We couldn't control our waste. We can't control where our food comes from. There's chicken spots, there's Chinese stores, White Castles, but there's no farmers market. So growing up in NYCHA, I really didn't know that that was a problem until I was introduced to Green City Forest, and they taught me about sustainability. They taught me that you can grow food in your backyard, you can compost and recycle food waste and turn it into a resource that allows us to grow more food in the city. They just opened my mind to the world of sustainability. And after 7 months in serving with Green City Forest, I was actually able to qualify for a job at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. And that was amazing for me because, usually people like me don't get those jobs. Those jobs usually require college degrees, driver's license. And coming from NYCHA, not a lot of us have a college degree. We don't have the opportunity to go to college and continue our education. And we live in New York City, so not a lot of us have driver's licenses. So it was a slim chance that I would get that job working for the Brooklyn Botanic Garden back in November of 2015. But I applied because I had 7 months of training with Green City Forest, working on NYCHA farms, working on compost sites throughout the city. And I felt like the training that I received through Green City Forest and the Reha compost site allowed me to qualify for this job that required a college degree. So I applied for the job and I got it. I knew more about compost than any other applicant that was applying for the job. And that's where I started my career in composting. From 2015 to 2020, I worked at the largest compost site in the United States that didn't use fossil fuels. And throughout that time, I was able to train hundreds of Green City Forest Corps members, just like myself, that were raised in NYCHA. And I was able to get them jobs in the green economy. So, in March, when the pandemic started and the city lost funding, I lost my job. I was one of the people to lose my jobs. And, it's not surprising whenever a pandemic or a recession hits, it's usually the Black and brown people who are the first to get hit. We're the first to lose our jobs, and those jobs usually don't come back. And that's where I got the idea of Compost Power, taking this work that I've been doing for years and actually applying it to an underserved community, a marginalized community. So basically, that's when I decided, hey, I'm not going to wait for them to give me my job back. I'm not going to wait for the city to implement funding again. I'm just going to go for it. So I reached out to Green City Forest. Green City Forest has, they've built 6 farms throughout the city. They currently operate 4, and 4 of those sites had composting operations on them, but they needed a lot of renovation. So I reached out to Green City Forest and I said, hey, I'm out of work, but I'm excited to work on your compost systems. You have compost systems in NYCHA. NYCHA residents make up of 1 in 15 New Yorkers, and 1/3 of the waste that we send to landfill is compostable. So if we can actually reduce the waste that we're sending to landfill, create compost sites in NYCHA where residents can actually get jobs and process that waste and turn it into a resource, we're reducing the amount of trucks going to landfill. We're reducing the methane being produced that impacts these communities the most. And on top of that, we're giving them training, education, we're introducing them to sustainability. So I kind of look at myself, back in 2014 when I was working dead-end jobs, people looked at me as waste. They looked at me as, this guy's not going to achieve anything. He's from NYCHA, he has 2 kids, didn't go to college. But Green City Forest took me and they sort of composted me into something that was beautiful, something that has a lot of resources. And now I am actually able to produce more resources for this planet. I'm able to educate people, to train people through this initiative. So, it's been a long journey from 2015 to where I am today, where I'm no longer a person working dead-end jobs. I'm a person trying to create jobs, trying to create careers for underserved communities. So that's what Compost Power is about. In the next year, I plan to build 5 new compost systems in NYCHA that can process a minimum of about 50 tons of organic waste annually and start to build forward with that. And the goal is to take NYCHA residents that came through Green City Forest, residents in marginalized communities that came through REACH training programs, getting that group of people and actually using them to rebuild New York City, building them up, giving them the ability to start their own programs, their own entrepreneurial ideas. And that's what it's about. You know, I just want to train people, give them the training that I received, and through those transferable skills, they can take that wherever they want to go. You know, Compost Power is just a seed to start the conversation of sustainability. Once they realize, hey, we can recycle our food waste, we can divert our food waste and generate jobs and give resources and grow food in these communities that have all this junk food all around us, people will start to think about other forms of waste like recycling. Hey, why aren't we creating programs that allow people to recycle in a way that's beneficial, where it's not going to landfill, but we're actually bringing it to the right place? New York City Housing Authority spends so much money on fines when it comes to separating their waste. They spend a lot of money on electricity because there's no thermostats in the building. The water runs uncontrollably because, you know, we have no perception of sustainability. So I think this is the time now to invest in NYCHA, to provide education, to provide infrastructure, job opportunities, job training, and then let the residents rebuild NYCHA. Let the residents bring NYCHA to the point where it's sustainable and it's the model of sustainability for the city to follow. I'm just one example of what can happen when an organization takes their resources and applies it to the underserved community. I'm one example of what could happen when you allow someone to have the chance to grow and flourish and become sustainable. But thank you all for letting me speak today. I'm excited to start this new chapter with
Thank you
NYCHA.
so much.
You all are amazing, and New York City's gonna get through this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Domingo. I have heard you speak before, and it always is just incredibly inspiring and incredibly moving. And I think you remind everyone again and again and again that there is no such thing as impossible. There ain't nothing to it but to do it. And you put your heart and your mind and your soul into it, and you find people and surround yourself with people who are gonna lift you up, who you are gonna lift up, and you keep doing that with each other over and over and over again. Continuous power building, continuous lifting people up, continuous, like, nobody is like the person doing everything. You share the hurt, you share the pain, you share the love, you share the inspiration, you share the wins, you share the celebration, and that it is people in communities who should be at the table making decisions, changing their communities, and that nothing is impossible. So we cannot thank you enough. A true inspiration. I suspect you will have many, many new followers on Instagram. If you want to pop, Domingo, that information into the chat, that would be super helpful, so people can follow Compost Power and can kind of continuously see what you are up to. But you're such a positive, incredible spirit, and we're so grateful that you were here.